This is your obligatory spoiler alert. Hello, all you beakers and sleekers out there. Today, on the Nerd Authority, we are going to have a new segment called Nerd Authority News, where I just talk about everything that happens this week that I want to talk about on one segment. Very easy to find, very go-to. So first up is The Flash, Episode 2. I have to say, I like this show. It's very warm. It's very fun. Ever since the Dark Knight trilogy, that has colored a lot of superhero shows. They really want the very serious, gritty, as opposed to the 90s ridiculous, gritty attitude. And I love that The Flash is stepping away from that, getting back to what we love about superheroes. It's bright, it's colorful, it's unapologetic. It's not trying to hide its nerd shame. I love Cisco. The character of Cisco is so fun. How he's just completely into it. He has no cultural touchstone for superheroes, right? This is a world without superheroes, at least from Cisco's point of view, until he sees the Flash. But he's into it. He's in it. He's got it. I think that Harrison is Zoom. I think he's Zoom, and I think they're doing a new version of Zoom because remember, Zoom is a fan of the Flash. He's a fan of the Flash. I think he's trying to protect him. He's essentially a temporal stalker, I think is what's happening. And he's getting rid of some of the most dangerous enemies for the Flash. Like in this episode, the president of Stack Industries. I already warned you about spoilers. Don't look at me that way. Arrow. Last episode, Laurel was shot with black arrows. This episode, they went on a wild goose chase with Komodo. It's not Komodo. I don't understand why they introduced this character. It's very confusing. He's all in black, and he's an archer, which really just makes it confusing. It's like if you had a superhero that could make hard light constructs, shot green energy beams, but was not a Green Lantern, right? It's just really confusing. But he wore all green, it was in space, and it's like, oh my gosh, make him a white archer. How crazy would that be? Make him instead of the hood design, give him a more militaristic feel. There's some things, there's things you could do with this. Maybe a gray ensemble, something, but they went with that, and that's going to be confusing to keep straight. I love the Hong Kong story. It's really weird. I'm not sure what Amanda Waller is up to. I'm not sure where they're going with it. I like that Ollie is evolving and becoming a player of the game, that he is moving pieces on the field instead of just being moved on the field. I like that. It's really good. And the last thing that I want to say from the last episode, that is episode 2, the Atom might start off as a villain. He is giving some really strong villainous vibes, stealing Felicity. I'm curious to see where that's going. Maybe they're just trying to throw you off, but you know that the Atom is going to be a good guy, so it's just it's kind of weird. Gotham. I love the Penguin. He is the best thing in that show. Fish Moody is the second. If I could have, gone back in time and told them what to do, I would have made Gordon a secondary character. Would have made Penguin the first character. But then I would have introduced, instead of messing, maybe halfway through the first season, and enter Black Mask. Enter some of these more exotic mafia type supervillains. I think that would be really crazy. Enter the League of Assassins, and really make it all about Batman's villains, because they're the interesting part of the show. Commissioner Gordon doesn't really do anything for me. Not to comment on the actor's acting ability, but it's just a dead fish. He was never meant to be a character. This Boy Scout is just not interesting to watch. But Penguin, I mean, I just talked about moving pieces on the board instead of being moved on the board. The Penguin is the master of it. To him, the crime families are pieces on the board to be manipulated, to be twisted and turned. It's wonderful. This is the supervillain origin story that I didn't know I wanted, but I want. Top Cow is having a contest for artists and writers. I think this is really cool. Top Cow, for those of you who don't know, make comics like The Darkness, Witchblade, Cyberforce, Aphrodite 9, and I'm really excited for this. I'm going to enter it as a writer. Wish me luck, everybody. DC just announced a whole bunch of DC films, including Aquaman, The Flash, Shazam, as you know, as well as Justice League movies. So very exciting, very exciting. Ezra Miller has been confirmed as the Flash, which means that there is no hope of integrating the Arrow universe and the DC film universe. I was hoping, uh, I had the perspective that what was going to happen maybe is the season of Arrow right before they wanted to integrate it would have ended with the Metropolis catastrophe that we saw in Superman or Man of Steel. And that would have been like, okay, these are now one universe. And they really could have inserted that at any time, which I found very interesting. But with Ezra Miller cast as the Flash, that has put a nail in that coffin, unfortunately. Or fortunately, if you don't like Arrow and Flash. In which case, you're not American. You're a traitor. Marvel has kicked off their Axis event, and I do not like it. I think the artwork is a bit lackluster. I think some of the character development is goofy. Rogue now has Wonder Man powers. It's they're trying to throw off Fox by messing around with the X-Men, so they have an unpowered version of Rogue. A version of Rogue that doesn't have flight and super strength. Well, they just gave Rogue super strength and flight again, just to be difficult. And I hate that Marvel is now primarily motivated by juggling their IPs and manipulating their movie stars. It's pathetic, and it will not lead to good long-term results in their storytelling. It just won't. The Axis event seems kind of forced to me. It doesn't seem. I'm very excited for their their time runs out event, but the Axis event, not exciting. I'm gonna watch it, get back to you guys on it, but don't rush out to your comic book stores. Scarlett Johansson has been tapped to play the main role in Ghost in the Shell. How cool is this, guys? We are going to see an excellent Ghost in the Shell movie because Scarlett Johansson is excellent. Keanu Reeves is being looked at to play Doctor Strange. I cannot be more excited. For those of you who don't know, this is rather interesting. Dr. Constantine was meant by Alan Moore to be a blue-collar version of Doctor Strange. Wolverine is dead. Who cares? I do not care. Stretched it out so much. If they would have sprung it on us, that would have been cool. In Uncanny Avengers, when they brought back Sentry as Death Sentry, that was cool for me because it just happened. They didn't, announce it 6 months ahead of time. Who cares? Wolverine is dead. He'll be back in 6 months. We might do a Wolverine in Hell story, where he's fighting demons in hell or something. That's what I would do. I would also like to talk about this connection between Marvel, Disney, and ABC. Disney owns both ABC and Marvel. I searched Wolverine is dead in Google. One of the first things to pop up was ABC News, Wolverine is dead. This is really just kind of disgusting. they're using their connections in news. I mean, ABC News is not a outlet for video game, comic book, cartoon culture. It is a news station. Why are you covering Wolverine's dead? And none of the other news stations covered this. It isn't news. Like Kotaku and and Reddit covered it. Those were the next search results. And you can do this experiment yourself. CNN didn't cover it. NBC didn't cover it. Makes me lose faith in Disney as a whole. I don't see good long-term things for them because they can't just keep abusing their properties. Grayson by DC Comics. I like the idea of Grayson. I like that they're taking Dick Grayson, the first Robin, Batman's first sidekick, and they're taking him in a radical direction. He has joined Spiral, and he is spying on them for Batman as Agent Grayson. And it's really interesting. They know that he was Nightwing. They don't know that he was Batman's apprentice. And it's just a very interesting take on the character. One thing I never liked about the Bat family is they always turn these characters into other versions of Batman. This is interesting. It makes Dick Grayson, Nightwing, closer to being a self-actualized superhero, an independent property, not merely another Batman spin-off. So I think it's very cool. If I could control the next stage in his development, I would give him a sidekick that he would train. I don't know if he's out of Bloodhaven right now or if in the current continuity Bloodhaven has been destroyed, but that's what I would do. And a few decades from now, have that superhero, have that sidekick become his own superhero or her own superhero, and so forth, so that you actually have multi-generational characters tracing back to Batman, which I think would be so cool. Tomorrow, this Friday, the 18th, Birdmen opens. I'm excited for this movie. I'm going to go see it. You're going to see a review from me. It looks really cool, very meta, very kind of examining the relationship between actors and these crazy properties that people get so hyped up about. The narcissism of Hollywood. DC Universe Online, the MMO about DC Comics, has announced War of the Light 2. In War of the Light 2, you will be able to face off against orange and pink lanterns, the Star Sapphire lanterns. They're very odd. Star Sapphires. Why are the Star Sapphires pink? Maybe I'm just ignorant of lantern trivia, but kind of weird. Finally, the last thing I want to finish with is all female Ghostbusters has been announced. This looks horrible. I hate reboots. I am so over this. Why is this a reboot? This is what you would do to make it part of the same continuity. You would take whoever you wanted to put in here, and you would just make Ghostbusters now a large corporation with franchises in different cities, and they're just one of the franchises. They just are. And then you stick Bill Murray in somewhere being Bill Murray, maybe Dave Aykroyd, if Dave Aykroyd can be bothered to not be an asshole for a little bit. And you just follow a new generation of Ghostbusters on their own adventure, and that's that. It's the same continuity. It's a Star Trek Next Generation type of thing, and you don't bother with retelling the same story. Can you hear the pain in my voice? Why are you retelling this same story? It's not entertaining. The all-female thing is also obnoxious because I wish they would just try to find the best comedians they can. Instead, they're going with this crew of women. I mean, right there. What if just find the best cast you can? Don't try to find the best female cast. I don't understand the appeal of this. Apparently, there are some people who will go see it if they hear it's all female, and the mathematics of that ends up that these movies do not get naturally selected out of the economic process of creating films. I hope this dies a fiery death. Rebooting and mixing comedy with social justice projects are abominable. It needs to just implode and be sent to the moon where it will become a supervillain or something. I don't know. It's horrible. That's it for this week. Tune in next week when I discuss what sucks and what's awesome then. Goodbye, nerds.